Okay, in this video, we're going to go over Python variables. So this is one of the most basic concepts you're going to deal with in Python. You have a variable, which is, we're going to use a score as an example. You have an assignment, which is the equal sign, and then you have a value. Think of it as like a box. You have score as the box, there's a label on the box called score, and then you have contents in the box, which in this case is 170. Sometimes you'll see that the term value here, the 170, will be called the literal. And all three of these things together, the variable, the assignment, and then the value or literal, is called a statement. And a statement is basically a line of code. So when we say the value is 170, to be more specific, the 170 is a data type value. In this specific example, 170 is called an integer data type value or an integer numeric value. Another type of data type value is a float numeric value, which all that really means is that there's a decimal applied to it. It doesn't have to be 0.1, it could be 0.0, it could be a whole bunch of decimals. Another type of data type value is called a string, which is text. So in this case, we have 170, which is a numeric value, but a string turns it into a alphabetical value. So it's no longer could be used for calculating. It's just text. And a variable doesn't have to be assigned a number. It could be assigned just text alone. So it could be the word record. And it doesn't have to be just one word. It could be 2 words or 3 words. So a very common function in Python is the print command. And print basically it displays text on the screen. It'll either be called a print function or a print command. Those are the two things most commonly referred to it as. But what it does is it will take a variable and it will display the value. So in this case, it's going to take score and it's going to display the value of the variable itself. Now in this case, 170 is a string. I could do the same thing with a numeric value, run it, and once again, it displays 170. So the score is a pretty, it's a pretty simple variable name, but it doesn't have to be a word. You could name a variable something as short as x equals 5. Or you can name it more descriptive, like types of foods equals fruits. But the point is, it doesn't have to be a word or a bunch of words. It can be something simple as that. There are some keywords that you can't name it as. So when it comes to naming variables, you have to start with either a letter or an underscore. In this example, score equals 5. You could do underscore score equals 5. You could do capital S of score equals 5. But those are only options. You can't have anything else starting off in the front. You definitely can't have a number in the beginning. As you can tell, the red is saying there's an error. And you definitely cannot have any sort of, besides an underscore, you can't have any sort of, special character starting in the beginning. So when naming a variable, besides starting off with a letter or an underscore, it can only contain alphanumeric characters or underscores throughout the name. So for example, I can't name something score $ equals 5. I can do score underscore equals 5. That's fine. But I can't have any random character besides an alphanumeric or underscore character. When it comes to numerals in a variable, you can do score 9 equals 5. That's fine. Another thing you can't have is spaces. So you can't have, the word score space results equals. Having that space there is going to cause an error. So names are case sensitive. So the variable name apple equals 5 is not the same as capital A apple equals 5. These are two separate statements. They're not associated with each other at all. and the same with apple with a capital E at the end. These are all different because they're case sensitive, so they're all signing a different variable for each one. All right, so there are some common keywords in Python that you cannot use as a variable. These are the most common ones you'll see. You can't name a variable true. You can't name a variable false, and this is with a capital letter. True with a lowercase value is acceptable. False with a lowercase value is acceptable. If, lowercase else, lowercase and, lowercase or, lowercase lf, which stands for else if. Another example is you can't name it lowercase for, lowercase while, none with a capital N, nor can you name it with a lowercase not or a capital return. All these examples here you cannot use as a variable name. These are reserved Python keywords that do other things. If you want a complete list of words that you cannot use when naming a variable, you would just simply type help and do keywords, the word keywords as a string, run it, and here you have a list of Python keywords. And if you want, you can do you can search each term. It will give you more detail what these things do. There's a term in Python called the most Pythonic way, and it just means that it's following like a standard that people who use Python want other people to follow when writing code. If you have people writing it in all different ways, it can get confusing. So the term Pythonic is like a norm standard that people want others to follow when writing code. So, and that applies to variables too. So when it comes to the Pythonic way, when naming a variable, you always want to use lowercase. So using the score example again, scores is in lowercase. It's not uppercase. Here's another example. We'll do city and then Miami. The variable city is lowercase. This is the value. It doesn't matter. You can use uppercase, lowercase. That doesn't matter. But the variable always you want to use lowercase. If you're gonna create a variable that has more than one word or a descriptive word, you always want to use what's called snake case. An example of snake case is high score equals 200. The snake case is when you use a underscore, but you could then have high score and then another word. So all three words are separated by a underscore. Now there's another way to write a variable in Python, but this way is not considered Pythonic, and this is called camel case. So in the example here of device type, a camel case would look like this. The first word is lowercase, and then the second word with no space or no underscore, it goes straight into a capitalized word type. So this will work in Python, but it's not considered the most Pythonic way. You'll always want to write in the snake case version, which is using the underscore. And whenever you're naming a variable, you always want to use descriptive names. And it helps us, humans, not computers, understand what's inside a variable by just looking at the name of the variable. So in the example of high score, it's a very descriptive name. We know this is the high score of 200. If I only named it as X, well, we wouldn't, by looking at it, we as humans, we wouldn't really know what is this in reference to. So giving it a descriptive name, it allows the user who's looking at your code to understand what that variable is in terms of the value. So this concludes our introduction video to Python variables, the naming conventions, the types of values you can give to them, and how to reassign a variable value.